Hello and welcome to Masonic Avenue, where we'll discuss art, philosophy, and Freemasonry. My name is Tony, and I am a Master Mason in San Francisco, California. This video merely offers my own personal opinions and does not necessarily reflect Masonry in general. I thought today we'd talk about some of the Masonic heritage sites in San Francisco, specifically four lesser known ones that I want to share with you. The name of this channel is Masonic Avenue, so we're going to start there. We'll talk about Masonic Avenue. After Masonic Avenue, I want to talk about the old Grand Lodge building that's still standing at Market and Van Ness, the Alcazar Theater, which you could walk right by in the Tenderloin and never even know it had a Masonic lineage, and we'll visit the first Masonic lodge in California from Gold Rush days, and that's in North Beach. If you've never been to San Francisco, I'll tell you that this is actually a small town. It's only 7 miles by 7 miles. It's the only county in all of California where the city and the county cover the same area. So there's several cities in Sacramento County, there's several cities within Los Angeles County, but in San Francisco, the county and the city cover the same area in that same 7 by 7 mile radius. If you want to be a smart aleck, technically the Farallon Islands, about 30 miles offshore, they are part of the city, but there's only seagulls living out there, so we're not going to count those. And if you're looking at a map, you might be surprised when you see the word Mason and Masonic pop up several times. Packed into that little area, you have Mason Street, Fort Mason, the Powell Mason cable car line, which is very popular with tourists, and Masonic Avenue. So you might wonder, do these places all have some lineage or connection to the Freemason fraternity? Well, the quick answer is no. I would be dishonest if I said Mason Street or Fort Mason had anything to do with Freemasonry. They were actually named after this gentleman, Richard Barnes Mason. Mason is a very famous family last name in the Anglosphere, and this person's ancestor was George Mason. He was one of the signers to the Constitution. So actually, of those places I named, only Masonic Avenue specifically has a connection to the Freemasonic fraternity. And that brings us to the first place I'd like to share with you, Masonic Avenue. This is a major thoroughfare. You're going to find a lot of homes and shops on this street, and it cuts right through the Panhandle and Haight-Ashbury areas. Masonic Avenue is very popular. You're going to find a great bicycle runs. This is near what locals call the Wiggle, and lots of townhouses like the one you see there. So Masonic Street is very prominent. You're going to see that name pop up a lot on these street signs. And this, of course, is the famous Haight-Ashbury neighborhood. Masonic Avenue goes right through there. So why is it called Masonic Avenue? Because years ago there was a Masonic cemetery there. As you can see in this image, the same image I use for this channel, you're going to see that again and again in these videos. There were several cemeteries in that area, and the border of Masonic Cemetery was called Masonic Avenue. So the street is still there to this day. The cemetery, however, is not. On a side note, what happened to all those cemeteries? So an interesting bit of San Francisco history: as land values got more and more expensive, almost all of those cemeteries were moved down south to the town of Colma, which is in San Mateo County, just south of San Francisco. Colma has the distinction of having more deceased residents than living residents. So that's what happened to the old Masonic cemetery. And to this day, you only have 2 cemeteries in the whole city of San Francisco. You got a tiny little one at Mission Dolores, and you have the federal one for military veterans at the Presidio. The second site I'd like to share with you, this is hiding in plain sight, you might say. It's at the corner of a major intersection at Market and Van Ness. This is the old Grand Lodge building. I say old because San Francisco is still the seat of the California Grand Lodge, but they moved. The building is now over at Nob Hill. So that's what I mean by Old Grand Lodge building. And you can see that at 25 Van Ness Avenue. Now, today, the building is used by the city of San Francisco for municipal services. It's a lovely old building. There's a picture there. And you could walk by it 100 times and not realize that it had a Masonic lineage. When you look a little closer, though, you're going to notice some curious attributes to this building. Right there at the entrance, you see this beautiful facade. And what's that I see on the ironwork there? There is a square and compass, one of the telltale prominent symbols, one of the more famous symbols of Freemasonry. So thank goodness. I think it's lovely that they decided to keep the historical integrity of the building. This place is no longer affiliated with the fraternity, but they did decide to hold on to some of that aesthetic. And when you look a little closer at some of the other edifices, you will see depictions of King Solomon and the Saints John. St. John the Baptist and St. John the Evangelist are the patron saints of the Masonic fraternity. The third place I'd like to share with you on our little walking tour of San Francisco's Masonic heritage is the Alcazar Theater. This is toward downtown in what we call the Tenderloin neighborhood. The address is 650 Geary Street near Leavenworth. Now, this is a lovely building. When you're walking by, this is what you're going to see. It might look even like a mosque in this kind of classical look. It might look like something you'd see at the Alhambra in Spain. It's absolutely beautiful. This is called the Alcazar Theater, and it is still a working theater. And again, like the last building, when you look a little closer at the facade there, those little symbols in the corners, those are actually denoting the shrine. What's the shrine? Many people will call this the Order of the Shriners or the Mystic Shrine. These are the guys who drive the little cars and wear the funny fez hats in parades. And this might be a topic for a whole nother video on this channel, so stay tuned. But I will point out that the shrine is one of several appendant bodies of Freemasonry. So in other words, all Shriners are Masons, but that doesn't mean that all Masons are Shriners. They're two different organizations. And lastly, I want to share with you the first Masonic lodge in California. This was founded during the Gold Rush. And you can find this at 728 Montgomery Street near Columbus. Now, I put the address in there, but it's important to know if you put this into Google Maps, you're going to find something approximate, but the building has changed over the years. So you might end up at 722 Montgomery or 730 Montgomery. Bottom line, if you're near Montgomery and Columbus Avenue, you're pretty darn close. And what you're going to see today, of course, is the Transamerica building is very close to this site. So very easy to spot if you're visiting for the first time. And why would the first Freemasons to California have picked this spot? Because everybody was in that neighborhood. This was the prime landing ground for the Gold Rush treasure seekers and the pioneers. Something you might want to research on your own that you might find fascinating. The story goes that there were so many ships pulling into San Francisco Bay, and a lot of them were abandoned because people immediately wanted to leave the boat and go for the hills and look for gold. So a lot of ships were abandoned or they were turned into saloons. And so to this day, actually, a lot of ships are buried under San Francisco, very close to that site I just showed you near the Transamerica building. If you'd like to learn more about these sites or Masonic history in general, you can check out the California Grand Lodge website at freemason.org and the Henry Coyle Museum and Library. That's affiliated with the California Grand Lodge. They have a great website you might like to check out as well at masonicheritage.org. Thank you so much for your time and for joining me on Masonic Avenue. Have a wonderful day.